disappeared equipment and we are still adjusting. So if you're there with us, I assure you before it's all over, you're a good thing. So, welcome you this morning. Glad to hear. Trust you got me already. And we're excited about what God is doing in 2020. Amen? So, start going.
Continue our worship with our tithes and offering. I don't know if any kids going out. The kids going out or cut off. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to worship you with our giving, Lord. We thank you for the provision and favor. We thank you for these tithes and offerings, for our abundance you have given us and we have brought back to you. As we sow our seed in obedience to your word, Lord, we ask you to break every yoke of poverty in our lives. Yeah. We ask you to pray that the devourer is rebuked and the windows of heaven are opened in Jesus' name. Amen. Children going out? Yes, no?
We were waiting for the special. Did we miss it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Nursery. That's under 7. Anybody under 7? Or if you are 7, you can come. If you are 7. I just want to thank the Lord for those who testimony week. Not what a blessing it was. Excited about today. Gotta praise the Lord. You heard I passed out at school. I didn't plan on telling anybody. One of the Cox kids is in my classroom, and his mama called back and told on me. But turned out, I passed out cold in the hallway. But turned out, doctor said I don't need any of my medicine anymore because I'm 27 pounds down. So hallelujah.
Okay, well, hallelujah. We'll get the kinks worked out sooner or later. Bethany's going to be sharing her testimony this morning. Okay? Come on up, hey. You're going to have to talk loud, which is not a problem for her. So, you want to sit down?
it Sunday, which was a couple of Sundays ago when he did his. And I told him, I said, I don't even really know where to start, because for as long as I can remember, I just experienced the goodness of God. You know, in every situation that I have ever faced, I can't look back at this moment in my life on any one of those and say God wasn't there. And so, you know, what parts do you tell, what parts do you leave out? And anyway, so after some guidance and whatever, this is my testimony. I was born in 1982 to Tommy and Pam Kelly and my big brother Barry. When I was 3 years old, y'all heard the story about how I was supposed to go to vacation Bible school with a family member, and Daddy just had a gut feeling the whole time that something bad was going to happen. And so he really didn't want me to go, but he went ahead and let me go. And then the morning we were actually supposed to go to vacation Bible school, my mama woke up and told Daddy she had a dream that I died in a car wreck, and he said I already had a bad feeling and wanted to get her. So they went and got me, and you know, I was fine. And then not long after that, Daddy and I were traveling down the road. I was 3 still at the time. And there was a hitchhiker, and Daddy never stops to get, I remember my whole childhood, he would never stop and get a hitchhiker if, you know, one of us was in there. But I always heard him tell stories about how he would, you know, pick up somebody and this happened or whatever. But that particular day he did, and we picked the guy up, and I don't remember it happening, but as the story goes, Daddy began to minister to the guy and asked him, you know, if he was saved. And anyway, he said, you know, I just lost my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, in a car wreck. And of course, today that was kind of like, wow, because of what we had just, you know, gone through with the feeling he had and the dream Mama had. And anyway, so Daddy, you know, talked with the guy back and forth, and he said, you can just let me out right here, which was just on the side of the road. It wasn't in a particular place. We didn't take him anywhere specific, just a few miles up the road. And so we let him out, and when Daddy looked back in his rearview mirror, the guy was gone. He was not there. And we just believed that was an angelic visitation, saying, you know, the Lord confirming, hey, that gut feeling was me. The plan of the enemy was for her to not live past 3 years old, but you listened, and you did good, you know. So I'm thankful to be here today. I'm thankful that he listened to that gut feeling, and Mama had the dream, and that I'm here. I was saved March the 25th of 1987, and I was filled with the Holy Spirit that very same day. If you do the math, I was going to be turning 5 in June, so I was actually 4 years old when I got saved, and I got filled with the baptism. I do not remember a time in my life when I didn't have my prayer language. And you know, when I'm talking to my kids about you know, the prayer language and speaking in tongues and things, you know, it's a disconnect for me in a way, because I don't know what life was like without it. You know, I'm so thankful that I was given that at such an early age. I just remember standing there on the front row beside Mama during an invitation, and I remember it as clear as I can. She had on like a plaid-colored long skirt that was real flowy, and I remember looking up to her, and I said, and she was praying in tongues, and I said, Mama, I want to do what you do. And so she took me down, and at that moment, Brother Carl was down front, Carl Cook, and he's the one that prayed with me to receive Jesus, and then Daddy stepped over and led me into baptism, and what a day that was. I can always look back on that day. As young as I was, I remember the smell, I remember just the little things, because that was the day that my destiny was ordained, and I believe that. My prayer language has helped me through some of the most difficult times of my life. And I'm so thankful for it. When I was 11, we left Houston and moved to Greenwood. It was a very tough thing, because I moved away from the only school that I'd ever gone to, and from the only church that I'd ever known. When we got to Greenwood, it brought, you know, a new school, new friends, and a new church. And some great things did come out of that. I met a lifelong friend named Lucy Davis, Bethany Root, and my time with the Kelly family, my daddy's side of the family, that I had while we lived in Greenwood is priceless to me now. My best cousin, Lacey, we got to spend such great quality time together. And so it wasn't it was just a hard transition to leave everything to know. But I turned 13 the weekend that we moved from Greenwood to Quitman, and I was heartbroken to have to move again. You know, anytime you're uprooted and taken, and there was a lot of rejection that I faced before we left Houston. So moving again, it was just like that rejection kind of felt like it doubled, you know, because here we are again, I'm a kid, I'm 13 now, and I got to go to another school far, far away from anything I know. I had friends again, and now I've lost them, you know, again. Along with that came a new school, friends, and a new church. And, you know, God was in the midst of all of that. I have friends that from Quitman, Amanda Harper and Aaron and Tommy and Miss Tammy Larson are some people that had an impact in my life, and to this day I stay in contact with. Amanda was actually at our wedding, and she was actually in the room when Gray was born. I mean, that's just how, you know, God, even in the midst of what I thought was some of the hardest stuff I'd have to go through, you know, God was right there and orchestrated things. But the new church, you know, had a great youth group, and they taught us the Word. Just reiterated what I was already learning at home, putting that Word in us. And I learned in Quitman about a thing called 11:11. Do you young people know what I say when I'm in 11:11? When you're looking at a clock and the time says 11:11, you're supposed to make a wish. And I learned about that when I was in Quitman at 13 years old. And, you know, everybody's like, what would you wish for? What are you going to wish for? And I decided that I was going to wish for the same thing every time I ever saw that on a clock. Just something in my head. So any time 11:11 would come up on the clock, I would just say, I wish the will of God be done in my life. And I did that. And through the years, you know, we'd be driving down the road, and I'd look at the clock, and it's 11:11, and I'd say, all right, everybody make a wish. And of course, you don't tell what your wish is, you know, you just do your wish. And inside me, I would say, I just wish the will of God be done in my life. Anyway, we came back to Houston in 96. I was 14. I hadn't seen or talked to any of my old friends in two years or more that we were gone, and I didn't want to. I didn't blame them for not being my friends anymore. I blame their parents for making the choices that they did to take them away from me. And that was some unforgiveness that I had to deal with as I was healed from the rejection and everything. But I did not want to come back to Houston. I begged and cried and pleaded and all. I didn't want to come back. It was just too much hurt. People that I thought were my uncles and my aunts and my best friends, and I just didn't want to face it. So we came back to Houston anyway, because my daddy and my mama felt like it was where God called us to. On one particular Sunday, it wasn't very soon after we had got back to Houston, we all got in the car to go to Good News Church, and I know you've probably heard the story. Thought we were going to Good News, and we got to the end of our long driveway, and instead of turning to the right to go to Good News, we turned to the left back towards Houston. And I knew what that meant. I knew that we were about to head to the church that was full of all the people that I felt hurt by, all my old friends that, you know, once I was gone, I never heard from for 2 years. And I began to cry, and I began to beg, and I'm pretty sure I got loud, because that's what I do when I get upset. Do not make us go. Please do not make us go. Daddy, don't do this. Do not do this to me. Do not do this to us. Do not make me go. I don't want to go. And I screamed and I cried and I threw a fit. And he never wavered. He stayed on that road, and he drove us to that church. for a kid, but I learned it. And I want to say thank you to my daddy for doing what God told me to do on that day, even with me in the back of that car screaming and begging not to. I'm so grateful for your determination to obey God, and I thank you for that. Anyway, sorry. But my greatest healing at that point in my life came from facing my biggest hurt, and I was released that day. God did something in my heart that day, and I can't really explain it, but I know it happened because I was able to make those friends, some of those friends again, and build relationships with some of those people. Throughout my high school years, I had several encounters with the Lord. I was not perfect, but God still dealt with me, and He reached out for me, and I always knew that He was right there. At 14, I had just gotten back to Houston, reconnected with my best friend Maggie, and she lived in Bruce, and not long after that, her and her family up and decided to move to Virginia. And y'all heard the story at that point. I begged and pleaded, please let me go to Virginia. Daddy, what have I got to do for you to let me fly to Virginia to see Maggie? And of course, y'all know the story. He said, you learn 20 praise songs on the piano, play them and sing them, and I'll let you go. And he gave me a deadline. So I said, all right, you have papers for me to look at to figure out how to do this. And he printed me off a chord chart. And it had, the three letters, which were the notes that made a chord. And so he showed me how to do some rhythms, just some really simple things. And he spent, a little bit of time with me there, showing me how to do this and do that. And so I worked hard because I wanted it. And within 2 weeks, I went back to him, and he was sitting in his office one day, and I said, are you ready for me to play you my songs? And he said, what songs? And I said, the 20 praise songs you told me I had to learn to sing and play. And he was like, yeah, let's hear them. So I played that camp meeting style that you can do 15 or 17 hymns to. And you never have to change the rhythm, you never have to change the notes. I was a little smarter, I think, than he realized, I don't know. But anyway, so I sat and sang my hymns to it, and then I did God Is So Good, which, is like 3 chords. And anyway, I did it, and I was able to fly by myself to Virginia to see my best friend Maggie for a week. And that was one of the best things that my dad's done for me, because I had used praise and worship to get through a lot. And praise and worship has ended up being my weapon of choice throughout life. Anyway, I changed schools several times after coming back to Houston, which wasn't a big deal anymore because I had changed schools so much. It was just a thing for me, But I went to Houston, I went to Faith Christian in 2011, and I graduated from Hebron in 2000. I played 14 years of softball, which was fast and slow pitch. I was varsity all 4 years of high school. I played 4 years of varsity basketball, and I was a varsity cheerleader all 4 years of high school as well. That's just a little background information about me. When I graduated, I started looking into ministry stuff, and I really felt like the Lord was calling me to go to Cleveland, Tennessee, with the New Life Drama Company. So that's what I did. I graduated in May, and then in September I left. Mom and Daddy took me to Cleveland, Tennessee, and that's where I was for a couple of weeks, and then we went to traveling. We traveled the whole Midwest and some of the southern states, doing ministry for drama, different skits, and ministry time. It was one of those things. For the first 2 weeks, you can't call home, you can't call your friends, you just have to focus on you and Jesus. And I learned a lot about myself and a lot about the Lord while I was there during that ministry time. It was very good for me. It exactly where God had me be for that time. Anyway, so I came back to Houston in November of 2000 after a 3-month tour with the New Life Drama Company, and I went to college with my dear friend in Atlanta. We went to Wood College together, and then in 2002 I ended up getting married. Was headed for the life that I dreamed of. I was young and full of wonder. And after being married for 3 months, I found out that I was pregnant. This baby was going to be due on June the 20th of 2003, which was awesome because that was the day before my mom's birthday and my brother. After complications, but I was thinking amniotic fluid. My water had broken, but just in a small part, so not all of the fluid was lost, and the baby was able to stay inside. So they put me flat on my back in the hospital, and every time I would sit up, that I would lose more fluid, so I had to lay flat. And they said, you have to eat and drink, and the more you eat and drink, that's going to turn into fluid for the baby. So I need you to eat and drink. And I learned how to eat a whole large pepperoni pizza from Domino's, laying flat on my back. I ended up in 6 weeks, I gained 60 pounds, and she went from 1 pound and 10 ounces to 4 pounds and 1 ounce. So it worked. I do not recommend it though, because that's been the hardest way to get off of my life. And it really made some bad eating habits. But anyway, in those 6 weeks, I went into labor multiple times. We had a sonogram every day to check the fluid level. It was a very rigorous and long 6 weeks. They stopped labor and stopped it, and it was a wash away thing every day. And of course, y'all know that the doctors told us, gave us a pretty bad report. The odds of you being able to keep her in much longer are bad. The odds of her being able to function as a healthy and whole child when she gets here are bad. And, it's a pretty good chance that she's going to have issues with her lungs and may have to be on the ventilator. We don't expect her brain to be developed, so we don't expect her to be able to function. To be able to take care of herself over at any point in her life. They warned us about spina bifida, cerebral palsy, all these things. And they would come in and talk to us about every day, and then they would leave, and I would cry. And I was just like, this is, and they would say, we're not going to have it. That's not what we're going to do. We're not having that. We're not doing that. And we would pray, and I would be at peace, and we would make it another day. And Mama had made me a calendar on the wall, and so I wouldn't, but we put another number up every day, counting how many days I was letting her being able to keep her in. So anyway, that tenure in the hospital is where the Lord spoke to me about wanting to be a nurse. Laying in that hospital, trying to keep that baby inside me, and those nurses doing all they could do to help me have a healthy baby. That's where I developed a love for nursing. And looking back, I'm so thankful that things happened like they did. I can see the good that came out of it. I can see, the good. Anyway, so I finally went into labor at 31 weeks, and they couldn't stop it. Grace Kelly was born, 4 pounds, 1 ounce, 17 1/4 inches long, and she cried like a little kitty cat. She was so little she couldn't make a full cry. If y'all ever heard a baby in a NICU cry, it sounds like that was it. So, anyway, she stayed in the NICU for 20 days, and we brought her home on May the 16th of 2003. I remember my first Mother's Day was May the 11th, which was the week before we got to bring her home. And of course, they were telling us it's going to be another 2 or 3 weeks before we get to bring her. But I did leave the hospital that one day to go to church on Mother's Day. I left her in the NICU. And I got to church, and of course they were celebrating mothers, and all I could do was cry, and I was broken because I had to leave my baby in the hospital. And if you've never been in that position, then you don't really know how that can affect you. But it really does something to you to have to leave your brand new, very small, tiny baby. And anyway, so thank you for that. Siri's taken over. But anyway, but I got through that day. I left before church was over. I went straight back to that hospital, and I couldn't leave again. I was there. But we got to bring her home soon anyway, so it's good. But to this day, that baby does everything the doctor says she wouldn't. Everything they said she would not do, she can do. And then they tell you she doesn't just do it. She knocks it out of the ballpark every time. And I'm so proud that the Lord was there, that He spared her, and that she's here to testify of His goodness. She was 10 months old when I found out I was pregnant with Greta, and I was scared my entire pregnancy because of what I'd been through with Gracie. And if y'all know Greta, she is very slow-paced and relaxed. I carried her 4 days over my due date, so that should have told us something. She was not going to get in a hurry, and everything's going to be on her time. And that is true to this day in 2020. That is how she operates. But at 14 months old, she was still and not saying words. And for y'all that didn't know us then, you won't believe it, but she wasn't. She wouldn't say 2 words together. She would make noises, but wouldn't form words. And so ear, nose, and throat, we had gone multiple times, but she had had recurrent ear infections, and it had put scar tissue in her tubes, and so she had surgery at 14 months old. She had lost 70% of her hearing. And at 14 months old, we got tubes, and they went in and straightened out all that scar tissue, and that was at 6 o'clock on one morning, and by 6 o'clock that night, the kid was saying 3 word sentences, and she has not shut her mouth yet. So, but, you know, I give credit and honor to God for that my child can hear, and that she does talk so much. Thank God. Anyway, I love her. But anyway, I continued taking college courses throughout this time. I obtained my Associate of Arts degree from ICC, and then in January of 2005, with a 3-month-old and a 20-month-old, I decided that I was going to apply for the nursing program at ICC. The only way I was able to make it through nursing school was the provision of God. He gave me favor with my instructors, and He gave me a heart for this career. And I'm telling you, that is the only way that I was able to get through it. I graduated in 2007 with an associate degree in nursing after one of the hardest years of my life. I was living with an addict, and every day was very unpredictable. Things had kind of seemed to calm down at home. And then in February of 2008, I found out I was pregnant again. Mother's Day of 2008, at 16 weeks pregnant, I began to spot and went to the hospital. And it just so happened that my amazing OBGYN was actually on call that night. They did an ultrasound, and they wouldn't tell me anything. They turned the screen away. I can't tell you anything. You're going to have to talk to your doctor. So Dr. Pelham came in the room with a devastated look on his face, and he said, "I'm very sorry to say that there is no heartbeat." I remember vividly my room very quickly filling up with my sisters and my parents. I just remember looking up. It was like, when I look back on it, almost in an instant, he said those words, and there they were. And that's how my family's been my entire life. And I let them know something was happening. They've always just run to me. And I'm blessed with a very good family. But that night, it was heartbroken. We were all heartbroken. But at the same time, there was hope. It was like, no, we're not going to receive this. And I made my choice. I was going to leave the hospital that night and come back the next day and talk about options because I didn't want to talk about it that night. And that night, my daddy got the leadership in the church to come to my house, and they laid hands on my belly and spoke life because we knew He could do it. We knew that God had the power within Him to breathe life back into that baby. We knew it, and we believed it. And you know what? To this very day, I believe He can do that. I do. I believe it with everything within me. But the next day, I started having contractions. I went into full-blown labor, and I gave birth to my baby alone in the bathroom by myself at the women's hospital. I carried my baby back to the registration desk, and they got me back very quickly. I don't remember a lot about those moments. I only remember screaming on the phone to my daddy, telling him I just needed him right good. They gave me a little bit of time, but the way that the baby was born, the baby was still in its sack. It came out, still in its little amniotic sac, and so I let them take the baby, and they were going to take the baby and bring it back. So, not long after that, they came back, and the social worker was holding the baby like this, and there was a beautiful crochet blanket that was wrapped around the baby, and she said, "You want to know what your baby is?" And I said, "It's a girl, because I just have girls." And she said, "No, it's a boy." And, we had 2 girls, and we wanted a boy so bad. just can't even think about it right now. I wanted to keep him so bad. I didn't want to give him up. And at that point in my life, I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. I got angry, got disappointed, but I never left church. I went through a healing process after that, and the Lord healed my heart through some Monday night praise and worship meetings that we were having. It was all I could do to make myself go to church, but I kept making myself because I knew that even if I didn't want Jesus right then, that I needed him. I knew that even if my heart couldn't understand why I didn't get to keep my baby, I knew my heart needed Jesus. I was financially spent. I was living in a fifth-wheel camper behind my parents' house, living on their power, using their bathroom and their tubs to raise 2 little girls. And I was more broke than I'd ever been in my life the morning that I woke up and found out that I had passed the NCLEX and I was a licensed RN. I knew that finally I'd be able to provide for my family. And that was a great day. I will never, ever forget that day. I ran into Mama's. I was beating on the door because I couldn't even think to unlock it myself with the key. I was just beating on the door, and Mama came over. She's like, "What is it?" Because I was screaming and I was crying, and I said, "I'm a nurse. I passed my boards." And I'm jumping up and down, and then she starts jumping up and down, and then she's got it. She's like, "Oh, I'm so hot." But anyway, that was a great day. It was a great day. It was just another thing. It was a thing of God coming through for me. Even when life tried to knock me down, God always came through. I ended up pregnant with my rainbow baby in March of 2009, and I was terrified throughout the entire pregnancy. I was so scared. I lived in fear every day that baby was going to come out, that baby was just going to be born, and I was going to have to lose it too. And then we found out it was a boy. Oh my goodness. That God was giving us our boy, and every day I was like, "God, please let me keep this one. Please let me keep this little boy. I want him so bad. And I promise I will take good care of him, and I promise I will be a good mama to him." And, the complications and all that I had experienced in the previous pregnancies, if those weren't enough, things at home were really bad. Most of the pregnancy with Gavin, me and the girls lived in an apartment in town. I lived, alone with the girls, and I gave birth to him November of 2009, and he was my promise that God would give back what the enemy took. During this time, I was working as a nurse. I had my big old fat 9-pound, 11-ounce baby boy, and he was everything that I ever dreamed of, and he loved his mama, and he really didn't care about nobody else at that point. Being a nurse, I was finally making some money, and then that's when the dream of being a nurse practitioner started with me. I started the bachelor's program at NUW online to try to work through and get that. And what I thought was going to be a huge change in my home, things seemed to be back on track. So I was pregnant again. However, the change only lasted for a minute, and I spent most of my pregnancy at my parents' on and off because it was bad at home. I just kept telling myself that I didn't want my kids coming from a broken home. And I just kept praying and believing God for change. Gray was born in September of 2011, and I was prophesied that his birth would bring me peace. And it did. There were many nights after me and the kids went back home that it would just be me and Gray all night. He was getting fed because he ate every 5 minutes, as he still does, 11. But he was getting fed, and I just couldn't sleep. There was a lot going on during the night hours, and I just felt like I had to be awake for my family. So I ended up dropping out of the bachelor's program because I couldn't handle everything I was dealing with in that as well. But Gray's calm spirit always brought a peace to my heart. The Lord used that baby to bring a calm to me in very, very anxious times. Soon after that, I lost my husband. I could no longer keep the kids in that environment. And I wanted to quit. I really did. I was hurt. I was discouraged. But I never left church. No matter what I faced, the Lord sustained me. Even when I could not believe for myself, I believed in Him and what He could do. Time passed, and within 6 months of that divorce, I was married again. I finished my bachelor's degree only through the grace of God in 2014. And then I got pregnant again, because that's just what I do, right? So kept getting pregnant. I gave birth to my beautiful baby girl in 2015. I was accepted into the nurse practitioner program in 2017, and hopeful that just maybe things were going to work out like I dreamed. And not long after that, a month to the day that I found out I was accepted into the nurse practitioner program, my second marriage failed. That's really all I can say about that. I thank God for that precious and beautiful baby girl that was a result of that marriage. And I would take nothing for her. She's precious. She's priceless. So, here I was at 34 years old, divorced twice, a total disgrace to my kids, my family, my church family. That's how I saw myself. That's exactly how I saw myself. And I dropped out of the nurse practitioner program. I decided it wasn't meant to be, and even though it was my heart's desire, it just wasn't going to happen. Because I was made to raise all these kids by myself, and I couldn't do that and go to school. I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit so bad. I wanted to give up. I was hurt, and I was discouraged again, but I never left church. Over the years, my lifestyle was that I was broke. I couldn't feed my kids at times. My sisters bought clothes, coats, and my parents paid my light bills, my groceries. They bought more Christmases than I've been able to provide thus far for these kids. I remember Clark giving me money every time something needed to be paid for at school for the girls, whether it was cheerleading, cheer camp, basketball, for whatever it was. When he found out they made the team, he would give me $100 and say, "Here, take care of what you need to for that baby." Robbie Gore, Jimmy Files, so many people helped me get through all those years. And I mean years. I mean all the way back to 2002. It was my church family and my family that helped us get to where we are today. And I will not forget that. Ever. I will not forget the goodness of God that was given to me through you guys. Throughout it all, I never stopped going to church. Even when I didn't want to, even when I felt like I wasn't worthy of anything good, when I couldn't feel God's presence, when I had nothing to give, I never stopped showing up. Praise and worship has ended up being the thing the Lord has used to strengthen me. Even when I didn't have a song to offer up, I just kept singing. Even when things were failing all around me, I just kept singing. 34, 35 years old, 2 failed marriages, not worthy of a good life or a good marriage. So many nights I would lie in bed crying out to God to send me somebody that would love me and my kids. So many lonely nights. And if you've never been there, I'm telling you, you need to leave church today and reach out to a mama that's doing it all by herself. Because it is so lonely at times. And another thing, if you know a single mom or even a single dad, and they're doing it all by themselves, be very, very slow to judge their actions, because it is a very, very hard place to be. I just remember begging God. I desired to be a wife. I was born to be a wife. I wanted to be a wife so bad. But I got to the point where I decided, born a Kelly, die Kelly. And I'm pretty sure I told Scott that pretty soon after he stepped in on the scene. I was like, I was born a Kelly, and I'll die Kelly. It's just how it's meant to be for me. I gave up on the idea that there would ever be anybody that would have the same values and ministry goals, or even anybody that could love me besides my parents, who never, not once, have left me or stopped loving me, regardless of where I was in my life. They never stopped. I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. I gripped Jesus with every bit of the strength that I had left, which was not a lot. I was hurt, and I was discouraged, but I never, ever left church. I'm trying to make a point here. I kept making that 11:11 wish. Even in the hardest times of my life, if I saw a clock that said 11:11, I would say, God, I wish the will of God be done in my life. That's my one wish. Will of God be done in my life. And now enters Scott Free. The day he asked if we could go to lunch, just me and him caught me off guard. I asked Daddy what he thought about it, if he thought it would be okay, because Lord knows, I had made some pretty bad, choices in my life, and had messed up a pretty good bit to that point, so I needed some guidance. So I called Daddy, and I was like, Scott, let's kind of go to lunch, what you think? And of course, Daddy's, because Scott had just come out of a divorce. I asked him, I said, what do you think? And Daddy said, I think it'd be great. And that was kind of all I needed to hear. And over the next year, Scott had his work cut out for him. I didn't trust in anybody. I was just waiting to be heard at any given time. And all that, Scott taught me that I'm worth everything good. He showed me the love of Jesus in a way I've never experienced. He stepped in and has loved my kids and provided for them from the jump. Even when he is ready to choke me, and those times do happen, but he is still doing things for me. He can be mad as a wet hen at me, and then I find out that he's thought ahead and gone ahead and done something for me. I've never known, aside from my parents, such an unconditional love on this earth. And I found out that I am worthy. The Father has used God in our lives to show us that even when situations seem impossible, all things are impossible with God. The faithfulness of Jesus has never left me. I want you to listen to this. When I left, when I was left, He never left me. See, I thought I was just doing the right thing by never quitting church, when the Lord actually sustained me through that. That's how He kept my feet on the rock, even when I was trying to jump off of the rock. Just showing up when I didn't feel like it, and showing up when I felt like I needed to walk in here with my head hung low and embarrassed and humiliated. The embarrassment that I felt like I caused this church body, I just still kept coming. I couldn't stop because of the foundation that had been put inside of me, because of the call of God in my life, and because I had the Holy Spirit and a prayer language in me that I had from the moment I was 4 years old. I couldn't do it. What I thought I was doing, because I felt obligated to just keep coming to church, the Lord used to bring major victory in my life. There are plenty of things I'm not proud of. I made rash decisions that caused hurt for myself and my kids and my family. But I'm proud to stand up here and tell you today that I've never left church. Even when I didn't make the best choices, I never left Jesus. Yes, I got away. I got cold, but I didn't stay there. I did not stay there. I always came back to the arms that will never let me go. The enemy's plan a long, long time ago to get drugs in my home and make me an addict as well. And there were times when I thought maybe that would make my situation tolerable. Maybe if I just do those two, maybe if I make those same choices, I can keep my kids and my family together. But I couldn't. Couldn't do it. I couldn't let my kids down. I couldn't let my family down. I couldn't embarrass my family like that. I could not live that lifestyle because of what was put in me years and years ago. I couldn't do it. Many couples succumb to drugs together, and I thank God that I was strong enough, even after an 11-year fight, I was strong enough to withstand, to get out, and to live free with my kids. Today I stand here before you as a person who made it through rejection, hurt, marriage and divorce, the loss of a baby, divorce again, dropping out of college 3 times, many, many failures, but oh, so many victories. So many victories. I just finished the nurse practitioner program in that degree, and I passed my boards, and as of Monday, I have been given a Mississippi license to practice as a nurse practitioner in the state. I wanted to give up. I wanted to quit. But I'm so very glad that I wanted to live even more. I want you to know this morning, no matter what it is that you're going through or what situations you have, I just want you to want to live. That's all I need you to do. If you'll just want to live, it will get you through. If you'll just want to live through it, you will make it through. It may not be easy. And yes, you need Jesus to be there every step of the way. But I'm so thankful that for as bad as I wanted to quit, I wanted to live even more. And that's why I'm standing here today. A very wise girl told me last night, no matter how many bumps in the road I faced, that I didn't think I could make it over. God not only brought me over them, but He brought me out into a much better place than I even was before. So how can I confidently tell you about the goodness of God? Because if it wasn't for His goodness, I would not be here. If it wasn't for the hand of God, I would not be here today. For all of these things, and for all that I've said today, to God, and God alone be the glory. Thank you.